everyone, awesome episode with Dr. Brad Moffitt, who scaled up to 4 clinics. He's done it in a different manner than most people. He's done it all through acquisition. So how does that work? How's that sped up his success? We can do a really deep dive on expanding through acquisition. This is going to be a great episode. Today's episode is brought to you by Chiro Matchmakers. Chiro Matchmakers is an organization that specializes in staffing up your chiropractic clinic, whether it's a remote, live, college-educated offshore VA or virtual CA, or whether it's an in-office associate or an in-office CA. That's our specialty. We help you get it right so that you can build redundancy, certainty, and predictability in your practice. Whether you're trying to save money on overhead expense using an offshore VCA or looking to expand and buy back time freedom with an existing chiropractor, please check us out at chiromatchmakers.com. Let's get started on today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome into the UAC Best Practices Podcast. I'm Dr. Alan Miner, and a few technical snafus today, but we're working through them. As always, this is focused on harnessing the best of UAC. We have, close to 100 members doing close to over $400 million in revenue annually inside the chiropractic space. There's a lot of genius and wisdom that comes from that. And so this podcast is focused on best practices. And with that said, I'm going to introduce our host, Dr. Brian Capra. Welcome, Cap.
Smooth sailing, as always. Thanks, Alan. We got a lot to share with you, so we'll get rolling with it. Our guest today, Dr. Brad Moffitt, out of North Carolina, has too much. We had to talk a little bit to figure out what we're going to try to share today. So, Dr. Brad, thanks for joining us. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Again.
Yes, sir.
Before I jump into some details, how long have you, number one, been a chiropractor? Number two, been in UAC?
Yeah, so I've been practicing for the last 11 years. I graduated from Logan in 2013 now. It's kind of crazy to believe that. Been a part of UAC for the last almost 4 now, coming almost 4 years.
Okay, awesome. We'll get to some UAC stuff later on, but you have a lot going on. And you've done a lot.
Yeah, got a lot going on personally, professionally, everything. So you got a lot to manage.
You're on to practice number 4 you're opening up, but you have a sort of a unique strategy, somewhat unique. It's been done before, but it's not an easy thing to do. I'd like to learn the audience to hear, how you're doing it. And you mentioned acquisition and creating a win-win. How's that going for you? What's the strategy there that you've noticed?
Yeah, so I decided about 3 to 4 years ago that we were going to start doing some expansion. We wanted to scale outside of I'm from a small town in Shelby, North Carolina. We've got about 25,000 individuals in the town. And so I won't say we feel like we kind of maxed out what we could serve in that community, but we knew that there was a lot more opportunity to take what we were proud of in our practice and take it into other areas. And so that's something I've always wanted to do. And so in 2024, January 1 of 2024, we did our first acquisition. And we acquired an existing practice that had been existing for 28 years, had a great reputation in community, and that was in Gastonia, North Carolina. And so, I decided on going the acquisition.
Sorry.
Say it again.
I don't want to. I'm just curious. What's the geography?
Yeah, for sure.
Is that like 5 miles away, or is it?
So it's actually about 20 miles away. So okay. There's a little bit of overlap. We're not in metropolitan North Carolina. We're kind of out in the suburbs and rural communities, and so people driving 10 to 15 minutes or 15 miles is absolutely nothing. So a lot of my practice consisted of people that were already driving that kind of a distance. And so we had some brand recognition already, over that kind of geography. And so the two practices are about 20, maybe 25 miles apart. At this stage in the game, it takes me about 30 minutes door to door. And so I had a great relationship, still have a great relationship with the prior owner. He'd been practicing for 28 years, and it was he and his wife. And so they were looking at an opportunity to kind of transition out of practice and wanted to take their baby, which we all know, like this is every single one of our offices. They're like our pieces of art that we've worked on for our entire careers. And you want to entrust that was to somebody to kind of carry on your legacy, right? And so it started with some conversations probably 5, 6 years ago, actually, just dropped a seed of like, all right, whenever you're ready, you let me know. And I'll be happy to kind of take over your baby and kind of run with it. And so we did that acquisition. We acquired that on January 1 of 2024 last year. And so that was our first one. We went through there, and the thing that I think gives us a little bit of a secret sauce is we've worked out a way to try and make it as tax advantageous for the seller to be able to get out of practice without getting absolutely hammered, from a tax perspective. And
Okay.
so through some creative solutions and things that we kind of came up there, we decided to launch. And so now we've been live in that practice for almost 18 months now. It's been a beautiful thing. We've almost doubled the size of the practice in the first 18 months, and it was already a great clinic, and it's something that I'm proud to say that we've kind of converted it into what we do. um, and so it was an acquisition from number one, and then a conversion into what we do versus more of a standard pain management chiropractic center into more of a wellness based clinic, and
Did
that's
that
been a
doc
beautiful
stay
thing.
on for a while,
He
Brad?
did, yeah. He stayed on. He stayed on for about a year and 2 months was his transition time over that time period, and then eventually he's kind of phased out of that patient care side of stuff there.
And in
Did
the
you hire a
meantime, you have
doc, or did
at least
somebody stay
another doc.
behind? Was there an
Yeah, we
associate?
did.
Yeah.
That's a great question. So, what we've kind of created is essentially a farm system for training practitioners per our system. So, my primary location that we run out of our Shelby office is kind of our farm system. If you think of the big leagues, it's like, okay, well, I've got somebody I can bring them through. They can learn patient care. They can learn our clinical protocols. They can learn communication. They can learn business. They can learn insurance. They can cut their teeth with a ton of supervision. And so I reached out to a guy that I practiced with in this office, and he'd worked for me for a window of time, and asked him to come back in the fold and take over and run that clinic because of his understanding of how our systems were and operationally. And so now, because we've gone and done a third practice acquisition, and we're actually going live with a fourth acquisition of October 1st of this year, we've created that farm system even more. And we're doing so for our doctors, but now we're also doing it for our support staff as well. And so creating an opportunity where everybody can kind of come in, train under the mothership for some window of time, and then go be planted into those other offices. So it really just kind of continues
It's very
our
much like a
standards, our excellence, and so forth from there.
sort of like a franchise, but
Yeah.
or corporate actually. But so each one of those practices, I would imagine, are a little different. The first doc was ready to exit, right? He was
Yeah.
a little bit older. Are all of those doctors looking to exit, or are you having different strategies per practice? Maybe one of the doctors stays and is partner, or how's that working? Or
Yeah,
are
that's
you
a
just
great
getting
question.
lucky with finding
Yeah.
great doctors to replace great doctors?
That's a great question. And ultimately we're not choosing to do an acquisition until I have a practitioner who's kind of ready to go, just like you would if you were to plant into a satellite office as well, right? And so
Hmm.
and start from ground up with just another freestanding brick and mortar. And so once we have that, because our people are, I would say, our biggest limiting factor is the skill and talent and the doctors and people and staff. And so what we've been able to do is once we find those people, then we start looking for where those opportunities are going to be that for them, right? So we kind of go in mind with the thought process of the practitioner not staying on with any degree of permanency, and
Okay.
I think the reason for that, and I look at it from my own perspective of. I don't know that I could come in and have somebody give me directive as far as this was my baby for the last 25 to 30 years, and this is what I've been able to create and make it. So how much can I transform to be able to take it to a different level? And so most of our acquisitions come in mind with actually helping that person transition either out of practice altogether into retirement or something that's quite modified from their existing role.
So those
So
doctors that are replacing the doctors, are they um, pure employee? Are they do they have a piece of the game? That's one question in my mind. Second
Yeah,
question is how are you finding these practices with doctors just ready to exit? I mean, if you're waiting till you have somebody that's ready to go, then you
right.
got to go find a practice. And I think people that have tried to acquire the practices, Alan, like it's not so easy to find a
That's
practice that's
exactly
ready to
right.
sell, right?
Yeah, that's the hardest. I would say that's the hardest part, right? So to answer your first question, the lead physicians are associates. They are employees of the practice, and secondarily, they are highly incentivized. So that way, they have some degree of skin in the game based on productivity, right? So they get to be their own, not be their own boss in a way, but they are trusted, and it's the way that we kind of run our operations. Is that I want you to be the man, right? I want it to be your practice or the woman, if you will, and I want it to be your practice. I don't want to be the person that's there overseeing those operations and so forth. Run it as though you own it, and because of your efforts, because of your relationships, and because of your results, ultimately that's where the productivity has kind of come into play, and so those people are then incentivized based on their productivity. Um, the other side is based on several other things from relationships within the community and surrounding serving on several different boards in regards to the insurance and so forth within the state of North Carolina, and just being around and in the area. I'm from this area. I've created a little bit of a Rolodex of relationship, and there's other people that I've referred to and other chiropractors. Somebody moves into this area, and it's people that I've sent, hey, will you take care of this family? They're moving to your area. I love them. Treat them the way that I would, and it's just relationships that I've had within our field that now a lot of them are unfortunately kind of aging out of practice in some way, shape, or form.
Hmm.
They got wind of we had already done this once or twice, and so now they're okay. Well, this is something that I might be interested in, as well. And I will say that I think we've been blessed that a lot of that has come our direction rather than us having to seek it out. It's been a
Yeah.
blessing for sure. But the other side of that is we've set ourselves up to be ready to go at any point in time because we're not running a skeleton crew from an organization. We have probably more staff than we need, if you will,
Gotcha.
so that way that we can take advantage of those opportunities if and when they present themselves.
Cool.
hey,
Alan,
Brad,
what
how
do you
about the
got?
money side of it? Are you doing loans? Have you saved money? Do you have an investor? Are you doing like owner financing combinations? Can you speak a little bit to that side of it?
Absolutely, happily. So it's a little bit of multiples. I am the only person that has any degree of skin in the game, right? So that money is kind of coming in. Um, we've set up every deal so that way it can cash flow any degree of an owner financing that's set up that way, right?
Yeah,
So typically it's a combination of assets that we're bringing down to the table, and then we're doing some degree of an owner financing as a part of that over a handful of years.
great. Yeah, I like it. I got to tell you a good story, and you're a lot smarter than me. My second clinic I bought, and 15 years later, our best doc is in there. We've grown it from a $300,000 business and 10x'd it. But instead of learning that lesson and doing what you're doing of acquiring more clinics, I then, when we expanded to Dallas, decided let's open 3 clinics from scratch.
Yeah.
And that was a $1 million loss to us. And the lesson on the backside of that I just started scratching my head of is why didn't I try to acquire 1 or 2 practices? When I looked back, there was cash from day one, there was a
Yeah.
patient base, There was a phone number and a reputation that brought people in that you
Absolutely.
just can't manufacture when you start something from zero. And so now, we're spending a couple of years resetting our 4 clinics, building them back up. But down the road, I've thought exactly what you're doing. I'm like, I'd rather have a clinic that was around for 20, 30 years, has good reputation, and step into that business because, yes, there's difficulty in transitioning to your clinics and bringing in your computer, pro EHR and your systems. But in hindsight, that was a hell of a lot easier and a whole lot more profitable than starting that thing
A
from zero.
thousand
So
percent.
you're so it's wise. I mean, again, 20 years in, I'm still learning that lesson, whereas you're getting that right out of the gate. I think it's the way to go moving forward. I
Yeah.
really do. I think, and there's so many over at Car Matchmakers, we give a stat. So there's a supply shortage right now. By our estimate, around 4 or 5 job openings for every one associate.
Yeah.
Wow.
And part of the issue is pre-COVID, about 1,000 chiropractors a year were leaving the profession for decades. On the backside of COVID, the last 4 years, it's doubled. There's about 2,000 chiropractors leaving the profession a year, and that has not let up through here in 2025. So, what do you do about that? It's hard to find these docs, and especially then to find docs that can grow something from scratch. So,
Right.
inherent in those numbers are there's more people exiting, and in that is the opportunity that you're capitalizing on is what if I can help these people extend their legacy and
Yeah.
give a really appealing runway for a doc coming in. I think it's brilliant, Dr. Brad. I really do.
Well, I appreciate it, and I will say that I had some amazing mentorship, and frankly, and not to be a toot of the horn to UAC, but it's one of those things to have people to bounce ideas off of, people that have done similar things, and to be able to go in and not just have to cut your teeth by yourself because you've got some folks that you can rely on and trust, and they've done it as to the same scale or greater than anything that we've accomplished has been very, very cool. And to speak to that, we did one acquisition that we did was actually just an asset only
Hmm.
acquisition, right?
Yep.
And the practice itself was already kind of fizzling out, right? It had
Hmm.
been in practice for some time. They've gone through like 5 different facelifts of how they were going to redefine who they were,
Yeah.
and market themselves. And this is our Charlotte office, and so a part of that, we bought a lot of equipment and other things there, but for the most part we started from ground zero,
Yeah.
as far as our patient base. And um and that was December 1st of 2024 we did that. And so we have built that third practice. Now we're on pace to be a $500,000 practice this year in our first year, which is a blessing. But with the acquisition side of stuff, we in the first 18 months we took almost $1 million practice and turned it into a $2 million practice in the first 18 months. And so
Wow.
it's a blessing. There's a lot more kind of leverage to jump from. But you also have to be cautious, and you are buying reputation, and you are buying things that if you don't know what you're getting into. So that's the risk, if you will, right?
Yeah. Great
As a
point.
part of that. The risk has been far worth, that reward that I would say has come through. And I think that it's taught me a huge lesson in, I'm 38 years old at this stage in the game. How long do I do chiropractic? Who knows, right? I want to set it up to where I could do it for as long as I want to, but what does my exit look like? And how am I building this to make my exit the way that I want to make it, and kind of beginning with the end in mind as a part of that. Not just going and seeing what we can do right now.
Yep. I love it. I love it. Well, last question, Dr. Brad. UAC, you kind of alluded to it. What's been the benefit to you being in UAC for the past 4 years? How's that served you?
I think it's a very few times in life. If you feel as though you've been blessed to be successful in life, and that you can get into an area where you're going to be challenged by people who are trying to do it to your capacity or more. And you alluded to the genius in the room. there's people of all walks of life, all different styles of clinics. They've done it a million different ways. You have that as a resource. My accountability group is they're like brothers, at this stage in the game, and I look forward to meeting with those guys on a weekly basis, and we do just that, hold each other accountable to what we say we're going to go do, and I think that if you just have that in some degree of a walk of life, you're going to get further down the path than you would if you're just kind of going by it yourself.
Awesome. And you guys just had another little one not too long ago, right?
We did. When I tell you life's crazy right now, we've said yes a lot right now. So we just welcomed baby number 3, little
Congrats.
Owen. So
Yeah.
he is going to be 8 months old here at the end of the month, and so
Awesome.
unbelievably excited about that addition. That's baby number 3, clinic number 3. We're going to continue expanding clinics. We're not going to continue expanding families.
I was gonna
So
say,
we have
next year you're
decided
gonna
that
have 5.
is we're there, right?
I
So
love it.
for
Awesome,
sure.
Brad. Well, we appreciate you. We love you. Thanks for taking time. This is going to be
Thanks,
really
brother.
insightful for a lot of docs. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. We
Appreciate
appreciate
it.
it. Thanks for the time today, guys.
Have a good one, guys. We'll see you.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.
I know.